Hi, I'm Karuna. I'm the founder and executive director for Mind Oasis. And my guest with me today is Lindsay Komp. How are you, Lindsay?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Karuna. How are you?
You bet. So, this is Meditation Happy Hour, Tea Talk and Truth with Karuna, and we will get through all of them. Do you have any tea? I have coffee this morning.
Really do have tea.
Yeah. So, Lindsay, where in the world are you?
So I am located on a very tiny island in Indonesia called Gili Air. And it's about a 2.5 hour boat ride from Bali. It's located just off the coast of another section of Indonesia called Lombok.
How in the world did you end up on this beautiful little island?
It's a really fun story, actually. So last year, right before the pandemic hit, I left to backpack through Asia for 3 months. So I was living in Brooklyn for about 7 years. I quit my corporate job and decided I was going to start traveling just for a few months. I ended up in Bali, and then after that came to this little island. And as the pandemic was starting to hit, I decided to stay here rather than go back to New York. So now I've been here about a year now, and it's been a really lovely home for me.
Cool. And is it largely comprised of locals, or is it a place that expats hang out?
Um, Both. I mean, there are quite a few expats here, and the island that I'm living on, out of the remaining regions of here, there are a lot of locals as well. So I'd say it's maybe about a 75-25 split.
Very cool. And so then when you offer your yoga asana and your other offerings, are you doing it live there, or are you using technology like Zoom?
Definitely technology like Zoom. There isn't much of a base here. I mean, it's a very small island. There's maybe only about less than that of us here. So, yeah, it's mostly via Zoom, as well as, during the pandemic, it's quite safe to use Zoom rather than in person.
Yeah, sure. So, you teach yoga asana, and you're going to be bringing a 16-week series to Mind Oasis as a part of our yoga immersion. People can drop in if they just want to come and have an experience with you once in a while, or they can sign up for all 16 weeks. Now, I noticed that your background is that you studied with Michael Hewett. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your education as far as like yoga asana and maybe just a little bit of your time with both Michael Hewett and Jenna De La Chanay. We'd love to hear a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, of course. So I believe this 2018, I completed my 300-hour teacher training with Michael and Jenna, as well as partnership with Three Jewels. So this was with them, as well as lots of great teachers like Hector Marcel and Allison Joy. And I was so fortunate to have these teachers to work with. So I completed the 300 hours with them, and I've also had several additional trainings since then in trauma informed yoga and several smaller, more personal trainings with Michael Hewett. So I've really, really enjoyed his teachings in particular because of his sometimes non traditional approach to yoga. I love that he has this intention of yoga on and off the mat, and his philosophy around yoga has really influenced me and my teaching style.
Very cool. Yeah. Hector Marcel is my most beautiful teacher. So we're all in good company here. I love it. And can you tell us just a little bit about your life? Maybe, how did you end up in corporate Brooklyn, and where did you grow up, and a little bit about you before yoga, and then maybe what yoga has brought to your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in upstate New York, in the Adirondack Mountains, and I spent the majority of my life there. I decided to go to college in New York City, so I attended the Fashion Institute of Technology and started studying fashion in the corporate world. So immediately after graduating, I got hired with a large corporation and kind of just stuck to that. And I was like, okay, this is what my life is going to be. And as I was starting to get a bit of like corporate burnout and struggle with some like mental health issues, I found yoga and meditation as this reprieve, as this therapy for me. And it was working so much better than anything I had tried in the past. I was just so relieved, and to have this sustainable thing that I could have access to at any time and use my own power to help myself. It was really, really wonderful. So I stumbled into 3 Jewels, and that's where I really got hooked into this physical asana practice and then started learning about Dharma and meditation as well.
Yeah, Three Jewels is such a special place. It means so much to me and the friends that I've made through that portal. So good. Well, and then tell us a little bit about if someone comes to your Friday evening class, what can they expect?
So I titled this class Yoga for All because I really want to make sure that it's accessible to everyone. It's so often that I hear, I can't touch my toes. I'm like, that's not the point. Like, it's so much more than the physical practice. And I love the way that Michael Hewett puts it of it's more than just poses on a piece of plastic, you know? And as I'm sure you know, it's the whole philosophy and the lifestyle around it and working with where you are rather than where you wish you were. So I would say that my students can definitely expect a level of teaching that is accessible to everyone. I will be offering several appropriate accommodations for all bodies and for all ability levels.
Well, that's great because as back in maybe around 2010 to 2014, I was in a studio every day. I really found the apartment or the home that I lived in based on where I was doing yoga because I wanted to be able to walk there. I wanted to have it always at my fingertips. And since then, I've moved into the mountains. And so I'm back to doing more of the, cross country skiing and trail running and things like that. And I do a lot less yoga. So I'm very excited to study with someone who understands that, our bodies are precious and we all have different abilities and inabilities and everything in between, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's I think what that does is it allows for a safe container for people to arrive, whether they're backbendy or not. And that feels really good. And it feels really congruent with Mind Oasis. Like it's important to us that it's a safe container for people. So thank you.
Yes, of course. That's really great to hear that we're aligned on this.
Big time. Yeah, for sure. So good. Well, so the name of this podcast is Tea Talk and Truth with Karuna. You have tea, we've talked. So now I have to ask you the question that I ask all my guests. And Lindsay, what's your truth?
What is my truth? Oh, my truth, I would say, is living my most authentic self without apologies. You know, this is what I've been really working on lately, being vulnerable and opening up to all people and making sure that in my opening, I am also facilitating, as you said, this safe space to make sure that people feel comfortable to open to me, open to the community, and feel like they can be their most authentic selves as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And do I remember from your bio that you're also a bicyclist? What else do you like to do?
I do cycle a bit, yeah. So the island that I live on, we have no cars. There's no cars or motorbikes. It's all just horse carts or bicycles. So I'm riding my bicycle everywhere all day, and I really love that. In terms of what else I like to do, I mean, living here, I spend a lot of time on the beach. Last night I was having a really lovely meditation on the beach as the tide was coming in. And what else? I am also just really into fitness. So, in terms of yoga asana, I like to incorporate my practice with some other physical aspects as well. So, weight training and some like flowy movements that I'm just getting into. Today, I spent some time with a friend doing these like really creative, flowy sequences that we were just making up as we go along. And it was so beautiful to like tap into that rather than always having a structured class.
Yeah, awesome. I have to ask, and then we'll wrap it up, but I'm just curious, was the full moon amazing on the island?
Yes. So it's actually 10:15-ish at night right now. And before this, I was standing out in my garden looking up at the full moon, and it's super beautiful. I really, really
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Lindsay, we can't wait to host you on Mind Oasis. If you want to see what Lindsay's class is, it's called Yoga for All. It's on Fridays. You can go to mindoasis.org, and then there's a tab that's called Learn. And if you just search under yoga, you'll find her beautiful face and the description of her class. And you can drop in or you can sign up for the whole series, which is kind of fun. The series gets you a discount on pricing, but it also is sort of a touchstone, which is why we do it that way. It's a way for us to, as humans, have a commitment, which I think many of us struggle with. And so it's really an intention so that when Friday comes along, you're like, oh, Friday is my yoga class with Lindsay. So Lindsay Komp, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Karuna. I really appreciate your time.